Hi, welcome back to Reading the Bible in a Year. Today is day 44. We're reading Exodus chapter 37, 38, and 39, verse 1 to 31. Exodus chapter 37. Making the Ark. Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood, 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, and 27 inches high. He overlaid it with pure gold inside and out, and made a gold molding all around it. He cast 4 gold rings for its 4 feet, 2 rings on one side and 2 rings on the other side. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He inserted the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark for carrying the ark. He made a mercy seat of pure gold, 45 inches long and 27 inches wide. He made 2 cherubim of gold. He made them of hammered work at the 2 ends of the mercy seat, 1 cherub at one end and 1 cherub at the other end. At each end he made a cherub of 1 piece with the mercy seat. They had wings spread out. They faced each other and covered the mercy seat with their wings. The faces of the cherubim were looking toward the mercy seat. Making the table. He constructed the table of acacia wood, 36 inches long, 18 inches wide, and 27 inches high. He overlaid it with pure gold and made a gold molding all around it. He made a 3-inch frame all around it and made a gold molding all around its frame. He cast 4 gold rings for it and attached the rings to the 4 corners at its 4 legs. The rings were next to the frame as holders for the poles to carry the table. He made the poles for carrying the table from acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He also made the utensils that would be on the table out of pure gold, its plates and cups, as well as its bowls and pitchers for pouring drink offerings. Making the lampstand. Then he made the lampstand out of pure hammered gold. He made it all of 1 piece, its base and shaft, its ornamental cups, and its buds and petals. 6 branches extended from its sides, 3 branches of the lampstand one side, and 3 branches of the lampstand from the other side. There were 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, each with a bud and petals on one branch, and 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, each with a bud and petals on the next branch. It was this way for the 6 branches that extended from the lampstand. There were 4 cups shaped like almond blossoms on the lampstand shaft, along with its buds and petals. For the 6 branches that extended from it, a bud was under the first pair of branches from it, a bud under the second pair of branches from it, and a bud under the third pair of branches from it. Their buds and branches were of 1 piece with it. All of it was a single hammered piece of gold, of pure gold. He also made it 7 lamps, snuffers, and fire pans of pure gold. He made it and all its utensils of 75 pounds of pure gold. Making the altar of incense. He made the altar of incense out of acacia wood. It was square, 18 inches long and 18 inches wide. It was 36 inches high. Its horns were of 1 piece with it. He overlaid its top around its sides and its horns with pure gold. Then he made a gold molding all around it. He made 2 gold rings for it under the molding on 2 of its sides. He put these on opposite sides of it to be holders for the poles to carry it with. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He also made the holy anointing oil and the pure, fragrant, and expertly blended incense. Exodus chapter 8, making the altar of burnt offering. Bezalel constructed the altar of burnt offering from acacia wood. It was square, 7.5 feet long and 7.5 feet wide, and was 4.5 feet high. He made horns for it on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it. Then he overlaid it with bronze. He made all the altar's utensils, the pots, shovels, basins, meat forks, and fire pans. He made all its utensils of bronze. He constructed for the altar a grate of bronze mesh under its ledge, halfway up from the bottom. He cast 4 rings at the 4 corners of the bronze grate as holders for the poles. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. Then he inserted the poles put into the rings on the sides of the altar in order to carry it with them. He constructed the altar with boards so that it was hollow. Making the bronze basin. He made the bronze basin and its stand from the bronze mirrors of the women who served at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. Making the courtyard. Then he made the courtyard. The hangings on the south side of the courtyard were of finely spun linen 150 feet long, including their 20 posts and their 20 bronze bases, with silver hooks and silver bands from the posts. The hangings on the north side were also 150 feet long, including their 20 posts and 20 bronze bases. The hooks and bands of the posts were silver. The hangings on the west side were 75 feet long, including their 10 posts and their 10 bases, with silver hooks and silver bands for the posts. And for the east side toward the sunrise, 75 feet long. The hangings on one side of the gate were 22.5 feet, including their 3 posts and their 3 bases. It was the same for the other side of the courtyard gate. The hangings were 22.5 feet, including their 3 posts and their 3 bases. All the hangings around the courtyard were of finely spun linen. The bases for the posts were bronze. The hooks and bands of the posts were silver, and the plating of the tops of the posts was silver. All the posts of the courtyard were banded with silver. The screen for the gate of the courtyard was made of finely spun linen, expertly embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. It was 30 feet long, and like the hangings of the courtyard, 7.5 feet high. It had 4 posts with their 4 bronze bases. Their hooks were silver, and their top plating and their bands were silver. All the tent pegs for the tabernacle and for the surrounding courtyard were bronze. Inventory of materials. This is the inventory for the tabernacle of the testimony that was recorded at Moses' command. It was the work of the Levites under the direction of Ithamar, son of Aaron the priest. Bezalel, son of Uri, son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, made everything that the Lord commanded Moses. With him was Oholiab, son of Ahisamach, of the tribe of Dan, a gem cutter, a designer, and an embroiderer with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and fine linen. All the gold of the presentation offering that was used for the project, and all the work of the sanctuary was 2,193 pounds, according to the sanctuary shekel. The silver from those of the community who were registered was 7,554 pounds, according to the sanctuary shekel. 1/5 of an ounce per man, that is half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel. From everyone 20 years old or more who had crossed over to the registered group, 603 7,550 men. There were 7,500 pounds of silver used to cast the bases of the sanctuary and the bases of the curtain. 100 bases from 7,500 pounds, 75 pounds for each bases. With the remaining 44 pounds, he made the hooks for the posts, overlaid their tops, and supplied bands for them. The bronze of the presentation offering totaled 5,310 pounds. He made with it the bases for the entrance to the tent of meeting, the bronze altar and its bronze grate, all the utensils for the altar, the bases for the surrounding courtyard, the bases for the gate of the courtyard, all the tent pegs for the tabernacle, and all the tent pegs for the surrounding courtyard. Exodus chapter 39. They made specially woven garments for ministry in the sanctuary and the holy garments for Aaron from blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Making the ephod, Bezalel made the ephod of gold and of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and of finely spun linen. They hammered out thin sheets of gold, and he cut threads from them to interweave with the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and the fine linen in a skillful design. They made shoulder pieces for attaching it. It was joined together at its two edges. The artistically woven waistband that was on the ephod was of one piece with the ephod, according to the same workmanship of gold, of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely spun linen, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Then they mounted the onyx stones surrounded with gold filigree settings engraved with the names of Israel's sons as gem cutter engraves a seal. He fastened them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod as memorial stones for the Israelites, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Making the breastpiece. He also made the embroidered breastpiece with the same workmanship as the ephod of gold, of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely spun linen. They made the breastpiece square and folded double, 9 inches long and 9 inches wide. They mounted 4 rows of gemstones on it. The first row was a row of carnelian, topaz, and emerald. The second row, a turquoise, a lapis lazuli, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were surrounded with gold filigree in their settings. The 12 stones corresponded to the names of Israel's sons. Each stone was engraved like a seal with one of the names of the 12 tribes. They made braided chains of pure gold cord for the breastpiece. They also fashioned 2 gold filigree settings and 2 gold rings and attached the 2 rings to its corners. Then they attached the 2 gold cords to the 2 gold rings on the corners of the breastpiece. They attached the other ends of the cords to the 2 filigree settings, and in this way they attached them to the ephod's shoulder pieces in front. They made 2 other gold rings and put them at the 2 other corners of the breastpiece on the edge that is next to the inner border of the ephod. They made 2 more gold rings and attached them to the bottom of the ephod's 2 shoulder pieces on its front, close to its seam, above the ephod's woven waistband. Then they tied the breastpiece from its rings to the rings of the ephod with a cord of blue yarn so that the breastpiece was above the ephod's waistband, and it did not come loose from the ephod. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Making the robe. They made the woven robe of the ephod entirely of blue yarn. There was an opening in the center of the robe like that of a body armor, with a collar around the opening so that it would not tear. They made pomegranates of finely spun blue, purple, and scarlet yarn on the lower hem of the robe. They made bells of pure gold and attached the bells between the pomegranates all around the hem of the robe, between the pomegranates, a bell and a pomegranate alternating all around the lower hem of the robe, to be worn for ministry. They made it just as the Lord had commanded Moses. The other priestly garments. They made the tunics of fine woven linen for Aaron and his sons. They made the turban and the ornate headbands of fine linen, the linen undergarments of finely spun linen, and the sash of finely spun linen expertly embroidered with blue, purple, and scarlet yarn. They did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Making the holy diadem. They made a medallion, the holy diadem of pure gold, and wrote on it an inscription like the engraving on a seal, "Holy to the Lord." They attached a cord of blue yarn to it in order to mount it on the turban, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. All right, that was day 44. I found it so fascinating how, after getting all those specific instructions that the Lord gave to Moses, they went and applied all the instructions. And so we're just kind of reading the application. There's first, we receive instructions. This is amazing because it is helpful for me to understand, like, yeah, I can receive instructions. I can receive guidance from Holy Spirit, impressions. But if I don't act on it, I'm not going to complete it. And there's an application that's so essential to our faith. And it reminds me of that verse that says that faith without works is dead, meaning that faith without applying it, without application, without action is dead. It's just an idea. But faith is the combination of those ideas and applications of it. And so it's just really cool to read that the actions that they took in following all the specific instructions. And it's a lot of details. So that was really interesting. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.